All right.
Would you like me to begin, Daniel?
It seems like a good time. We got 25 people in the call right now, so.
Okay, sounds good. Well, y'all, I'm really excited not only to be with you today, but also just the content of our class. I think some of you probably have met Dr. Kristi Nobbman, but to some of you, you're probably meeting her for the first time. She works at CAFE, or the Children and Family Enrichment Center, which Idlewild birthed, not so, well, pretty recently. So part of CAFE is obviously the EEC, or the daycare that we house in our building. But the other big part of that is our parent counseling place, which is Kristi's baby. She is the lead counselor there. So Kristi is a mental health counselor. She holds her doctorate in counselor education and supervision from the University of Memphis. And she has experience working in schools and in the community with children, with adolescents, and with adults. And additionally, tell me if I say this wrong, Kristi, but she is a trained independent facilitator in the Love and Logic curricula. Yeah. Yep. So thank you for being with us. We, y'all, if you stick around for worship this morning, you'll also notice that we have a moment for mission from Earl Donaldson, who's a member at Idlewild and a counselor at the Samaritan Counseling Center. May, I didn't know this until this week, but May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we're just very cognizant that we're not only marking that and the importance of it, but we also find ourselves living in this time of profound disorientation. So it seemed like a good time to talk about how we're doing, and just to name the trauma that is very real, and what we can be doing now, you know, to help ourselves and our community. So thank you, Kristi, for joining us and for leading us in this important conversation. I'm going to get out of the way, but before I do, I will open us in prayer, unless, Daniel, you wanted to do that.
Nope, you can do it.
Okay, let's pray. Oh God, we give you thanks for Kristi and for her gifts and her expertise, for everyone who is gathered here to learn and to grow, for the gift of waking to the brightness of this new day. We thank you for the gift of this Eastertide season, when we are feeling our way around in a new reality, both joyful and profoundly disorienting. And as we learn how to live there in light of the resurrection. Be with us now as we share with each other and as we learn from Kristi and one another, that we might be blessed in this space and formed as your people who know their immense worth and value, and our callings to care for ourselves so that we can care for each other and build up your church for the living of these days. I ask all these things in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to my dining room turned to office. I know the church as well as CAFE has been closed, but I am extremely grateful that I've been able to continue teletherapy with all of my clients here in my house. And so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with everyone. And get some things going. There we go. All right, is that full screen for everyone? Yes, okay.
It's the sort of presentation view from PowerPoint. I think you might want to go use slideshow in that second next to it, that one.
Right there. Okay. So, yes, that works
Yep,
for
that's it.
you all, but then my notes are gone. Oh well, I don't need my notes. All right. So we're going to spend some time today talking about this crisis of the coronavirus. But I do want to be fair and say that I watched a webcast by Bessel van der Kolk, and so I am sharing his wisdom. I've added a few extra things, but for the most part, it's coming from him, so I want that to be known. Let's see. So before we get started, I just want to take a moment to talk about crisis and trauma. So that is some pretty strong language, but simply put, a crisis or a traumatic event is an ability or a lack of problem-solving skills and an ability to self-regulate. You know, for some people, it could be as simple as choosing what's for dinner. And for others, it is more serious, like physical, sexual abuse, a car wreck, things like that. A person during crisis feels that their safety is threatened, and that can be our physical safety, our psychological safety, our economic safety, or any combination of those. So why are we calling the coronavirus a crisis? Well, if you think about it, we've never been in this situation before. We've never been in this situation before. So we don't have the skills or maybe the self-regulation tools to wade through this event. Also, for many of us, our financial situation is not okay. Our physical safety, our emotional safety, those are all being affected right now. And so that's the premise that Dr. van der Kolk took, that our safety is at risk right now. Now, I'm not going to talk specifically about parenting through this coronavirus staying at home crisis, but please know that for children developmentally, they're lacking everyday tools to make it through normal life. So how much more do they need support during this time? So the tips that I'm talking about are equally or even more important for them. So just want to make that known. Excuse me. So when we are in a traumatic experience or in a crisis situation, typically there are effects of that. There's a lack of predictability, immobility, and this refers to our fight, flight, or freeze, particularly our freeze response. Also, our sense of agency and our ability to make choice. We become immobile. Third, there's a loss of connection. There might be a numbing or spacing out, a loss of sense of time and sequencing, a loss of safety, and again, that's our emotional, our physical safety. And then finally, a loss of a sense of purpose. So these are the effects. I'm not going to go into detail about what each of those mean, but what I am going to do is give you some tips. So what can you do during this time? And this is the point where I want you to stop me if you have questions or comments or maybe even something that has helped for you. So the first is this lack of predictability. What can you do when we don't know what's going to happen? The most important thing you can do is create order through scheduling. Now, some people like really rigid schedules, and some people like more flexible schedules. That's okay. It can be as simple as waking up at the same time, eating meals at the same time. Or it could be as simple as, hey, this is the list of things I'm going to accomplish today, and I'm going to do those things. Or you can plan your day out specifically, right? Going to wake up 7 a.m., do yoga, 7:30. That's what my plan is right now. And then continue throughout the day. Also, it's important to plan something to look forward to in the next couple of days. So maybe on Monday, you schedule a phone conversation with your friend for Wednesday, so that you have something in the future that you're looking forward to. Or maybe in the middle of the day, you start craving something sweet and you think, maybe I should save that for dessert. So you have something to look forward to maybe after dinner. So it can be gradual, but also be sure that there's something in a couple of days from now that you have planned. Any questions or comments about scheduling or sort of creating predictability in this time of uncertainty?
I would like to add that I think that if you could find something funny on YouTube or TV, then the more laughter that you have, the more you smile, the more it's going to help.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on. So the next one is immobility. And again, this is a lack of agency, a lack of ability to make choices. And for most people, we sort of move through this fight, flight, or freeze survival instincts. But because of the stay-at-home order, because our lack of immobility, our physical immobility, fight then becomes the most common response. So even if it's not your typical response, you might find yourself angry, more angry than usual. You might find yourself more frustrated than usual. That is actually really common. Know that that's okay, that your first instinct might be to fight, but then take a deep breath and find a healthy way to work through that anger. Some of those healthy ways and to sort of create mobility is to awaken your body. Be moving. Take walks, stretch, play. Play is so important. I mean, you just mentioned laughing. That is moving your body. It's moving the organs in your body. That's a really great thing to help with immobility. Play with your kids, play with your dog, whatever you need to do to keep your body moving. Also, make choices. Wake up and think, okay, do I want to put yoga pants on today or do I want to put jeans on today? Right? Sort of think through mental processes so that you feel like you have choice. And this is so important for kids too. Kids need to feel like they have choice right now. So that could be as simple as, hey, do you want me to take your phone right now? Or do you want me to take it in 5 minutes? Right? You still get what you want as the parent, but the kid has a choice. Am I going to make green beans or broccoli for dinner tonight? Okay? Choice is so important right now. What areas might you find yourself where you could more actively be giving yourself choice? Okay, I'll move on. That's okay.
Well, I'll speak, Kristi, if you don't mind.
Okay.
This is
Yeah,
Becky,
no, not at all.
for those of you who can't see me or hear me. So we kind of combine the lack of immobility, the immobility with the scheduling, and we get up early, me and my two kids, get up early every morning and walk somewhere on a green line, which kind of combines those. But the choice that we kind of combine is we have downloaded this All Trails app, which shows different like green spaces in Memphis. And so we choose, like, do we want to go to the Wolf River, or do we want to go to this garden, or do we want to, so we like choose where in the city we want to walk that morning. And by going early, we avoid all the crowds and stuff. So that's sort of a combination of the two, but just choosing where we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Choosing where you want to be. It's a really great way to put it. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so I'll move on to, let's see, I think I jumped. There we go. Going the wrong way. I'm sorry. Okay, so the next one is a loss of connection. So in this time of social distancing, we feel disconnected from people. And we might even feel disconnected from our own sense of ourself. So ways to combat that are to connect to your body through movement. So again, walking, stretching, taking deep breaths. But then also we want to connect to our brains. We want to connect, whether that's through meditation, reading a book, or focusing on a particular task. We have to keep our brains engaged so that we can actually connect with ourselves and with others. And luckily we have technology where not only can we hear each other's voices, but we can see each other's faces. This is a great opportunity to connect to others, whether that's through the phone or social media, whenever possible. And we want to connect in real time. So I know so much of what we do is texting back and forth. Some people are using like Marco Polo and different apps to stay connected. But if we can connect in real time, it gives us a stronger sense of connection than if there's a lag in our communication. And then again, be silly, play, laugh. Those are wonderful ways to stay connected to your own body and to the people around you. Any other thoughts or questions about connection?
I actually have a little bit of a question, Kristi. Some people are spending 10 hours a day online doing face chats, video chats and things like that. And I know Pete has said that he's so tired of talking to people through a screen. What are some other things to connect with people on a better level, as opposed to maybe it's also that it's all work driven?
Yes. So, I mean, that's a really valid point. I, even personally, after the first week of teletherapy, I was exhausted. And I was like, what is all this about? I don't understand. But then it takes so much energy to communicate virtually that it is exhausting. And I have chosen to turn my phone off, turn my computer off, everything off. At the end of my workday, just for 2 hours. Just for 2 hours, and I go reconnect with myself. So that means if it's nice outside, I'm going to take a walk by myself, or sitting in my backyard by myself. Even if my husband's here, I'm like, hey, I need to reconnect to myself before I can reconnect with other people. So that exhaustion is real. What it means is you need to reconnect with yourself. For me, I need to turn everything off. For other people, they might not need to. And then it's like, hey, I'm switching gears. I'm connecting with a friend. I'm not doing work stuff. I'm doing personal stuff. Does that sound realistic, or is that helpful?
It's helpful. Some of it's realistic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can go 2 hours without being available, but at this point. But he's trying.
Yes. 2 hours might be longer than most people need. I do have the luxury of not necessarily being needed in that capacity. And it's a personal choice. I don't have any of my social media notifications turned on, and I haven't for the past 10 years. I choose to disconnect quite often, but that's a personal choice. And I understand that that is not easy and doesn't work for everyone. Mm-hmm.
Kristi, this is Peggy McClure,
Hi.
on Tracy's question and concern for Pete. In his position, I know that you know, he's got a lot of balls up in the air, but for Pete and others who are out in the workplace, if at all possible, it's up to individuals to set their boundaries in lots of ways, but to set boundaries and say, if they can, to say, these are my office hours, and not enable those, you know, so that if somebody does break through that end of the day office hour, do not respond to it if you can. Because if you don't hold to that boundary, then people are going to take advantage of it and say, he really doesn't mean that, or she doesn't really mean that. And I think boundaries are really important during this time.
Yes, I agree as well. If you can set limits, if you can set boundaries, I would encourage you to. But we live in a world that is on 24/7. And if you don't hear within a couple of minutes, people get frustrated. And so it can be difficult not to take that personally. But if you can get to a place where you say, these are my office hours, this is what I'm sticking to. If I'm not meeting your deadlines, like, that's your problem and not mine. But that takes a lot of agency and assertiveness to be able to say and stick to those sorts of comments. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll move on. So we also, in times of crisis, have a tendency to numb or space out. And you may notice that hours go by because you've been scrolling through your phone. But it's important to avoid excessive TV, social media, video games, drugs, alcohol. I have a friend who is in the alcohol business, and they have said that they've sold more money in the first month of coronavirus stuff than they do from Thanksgiving through Christmas season, right? Lots of people are numbing out through alcohol or whatever that might be right now. It's important not to do that. It's okay to watch TV. It's okay to play video games and to have a glass of wine. But do those things in moderation so that you are enjoying the moment and not numbing out everything that's going on. So that means be active and make choices. Again, be in touch with your body and your inner experience. and your sensations. So sometimes when we're angry, you know, our fists tend to ball up, or our face becomes flushed, or our ears become red or hot. Pay attention to your body and what it's experiencing, and don't be afraid to share your feelings with others. It's okay to say, I'm angry right now. Like, you're in my space and you won't leave me alone. Like, I'm really frustrated. I need a break. Okay, that would be a healthy way to express your anger, instead of, you know, turning to just numb out in front of video games for several hours. Questions or comments about spacing out? Okay, I'll move on. The next is a loss of sense of time and sequencing. So it's difficult. Every day feels like a weekday. Every day feels like the weekend. I don't really know what day it is sometimes. But it is important to make a point to say, hey, today is Sunday. Today is set aside. It's not like any other day. Pay attention to the time of the day, right? It's morning. I can see the sun setting, or excuse me, rising in the morning. Or it's evening and I can see the sun setting. And if you are one of those people who has a terrible sense of time to begin with, set alarms, right? Set an alarm for 11 o'clock in the morning so that you can recognize that transition from morning and moving into afternoon. If you are one of those people who's a night owl and you could stay up all night long, right? Set an alarm for 11 o'clock at night. Hey, maybe I should start making my way to bed or calming myself so that I can become sleepy. Those sorts of things. And to pay attention to the changes. So mentioned the sun, but also notice, is your back becoming sore because you're hunched over a computer? Are your legs getting tired because you're actually out on a walk? And then, of course, you can use your own body, which I said already, I guess. But use your senses. What do you see that's different? What do you smell that's different? What do you hear? Can you hear the birds chirping in the morning? Or maybe a train in the distance? What do you hear? And what do you feel? What can you touch? Or can you feel like an emptiness in your stomach because it's time to eat again? Things like that are going to help you gain a sense of time and sequencing throughout your day. Has anyone else done anything that might be helpful in creating a sense of time?
We've gotten a couple of comments in the chat.
Okay.
As far as connection, Becky was talking about having either online chess games between some of the kids in her class, or Words with Friends and other games where you're not like looking at each other, but you're in a sort of one-to-one contact with other people. You know, you can pick a specific place and notice how it changes over time. You know, a garden, tree, a yard, you know, in hours or days or weeks. And then Jim Stallings was suggesting that adjusting to retirement is similar to this situation.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thank you. With my screen full, I can't see the comments. And I can't figure out how to change that. So thank you for doing that. Whoops. Okay. So moving on, the next is a loss of sense of safety. or our actual safety. And our physical safety, losing that is the most scary for us. And so to combat that, the best thing is through touch. Whether that's cuddling with a soft toy or a loved one, whether that's a hug or a kiss. I mean, those things help create a sense of safety for our bodies, or a weighted blanket. Also, privacy is really important. I know that we are all home, and if you have little ones at home, they need you all of the time. But finding privacy and a place where you can be alone is really important. Whether you find a chair or a room or just a corner, that's your spot, that no one can bother you. You know, you're sitting in a chair and your spouse knows they can't talk to you while you're sitting in that chair because you just need a few minutes. That's okay. But again, if you're in a small house and there's not a place for you, or there's children around, you can find safety and privacy in your own body through meditations. And we are gonna, at the very end, gonna spend some time doing a meditation. Also checking the time because I want to make sure we have enough. So we'll do a meditation at the end to help you figure out what that might mean for you. The last one is a loss of sense of purpose and identity. So this might sound extreme to some of you, but also know that being at home, you've taken on more roles and you're multitasking more than you typically do. So, you know, you're a full-time chef and a full-time barista and a full-time teacher if you have children, and a full-time professional, right? A full-time housekeeper. You've taken on all of these roles. And so you might have this just muted sense of self. And the best way to combat that is to spend some time each day doing the things you do well. Choose that thing that you love to do and do that, whether that's time in your garden or cooking or painting, or maybe it's working. Maybe you thrive in your job. Make sure you focus on your job. And set goals for yourself, whether that's each day or each week. But note, during times of crisis, we don't want to make big life-changing decisions. So keep on keeping on doing what you do. And then lastly, find gratitude in your abilities and what you can do, and try to stay focused on the present task or present role. If it's dinner time and you're cooking, stay focused on that. If the floor needs sweeping, stay focused on sweeping that floor and not the several emails that just got into your email box. If you can stay focused on the present task, you will feel less exhausted from the multitasking. Any questions or comments about that? I saw some smiling faces. Did that resonate with anyone?
It definitely resonates, Kristi. It's also like, this is hard. I just want to name that. It is, and I absolutely, I'll own that I'm speaking as somebody who's working and parenting a very small child at the same time. It's the amount of things that you've got to do in those small periods when he's not wrapped around your ankles. You know, I think the goal is, yes, spend time doing the things that really, you know, bring meaning and purpose, the things that you do well. And there are some days that, you know, that it's hard to do that. It's, you know, because you've got to use that time to respond to the phone calls or to the emails, or so just naming, I absolutely agree with this. And I think I probably I've probably adapted it for kind of a week goal rather than a day, you know, a day goal. But I'm finding that I'm doing that a lot anyways. I don't know about all of you, but I feel like I keep kind of finding the rhythm that seems to work, and then it just doesn't work anymore, and I've got to adapt, you know, again. So I'm trying to give myself some grace in that, you know, what worked last week might not work this week, and that's okay. That's not, you know, that's not a failure. It's just, you know, it's just adaptation and doing what you got to do.
Absolutely. I mean, if you take anything away from this, be gracious to yourself, because we haven't been here before. It's a time of crisis. These are tips to help make it through some of the effects, but yeah, it changes on a day-to-day basis. And definitely, if you can accomplish some of these things in a week, my hope is that you find some peace and some safety in all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Would you mind telling me what time it is? As I can't seem to.
It's 10:20.
Okay, perfect.
There was a note that yesterday, while weeding the Hosta Trail, Larry Tucker said that we're so grateful that we have gardening as something we love at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I've been working on a little bit at my house too. And then Peggy pointed out that both Sarah and Will are parenting their congregations in addition to the small child.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we're not thinking about all of the types of caregivers that are out there. There are the nurses and doctors that people are talking about, but then there are the pastors and those teachers who are continuing to teach. All of those caregivers are really needed right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I do have, whoops, I keep doing that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I do want to get to the meditation. But this is something that Dan Siegel put out, and it's the 7 essential mental activities. And he, regardless of crisis, he says that we should spend time doing these 7 things each day. Staying focused, sleeping, being physical and active, having downtime and resting, connecting with others, time in, which is time inside, whether that's through meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, those sorts of things, and then play. And so this is kind of how I like to schedule my day out. I don't particularly like very rigid schedules, and so I try to spend time doing these things each day, and that's been really helpful for me. This sort of talks about all of them, but I'm going to skip them, and I don't mind, Sarah or Daniel, if you want to send out the PowerPoint, that's perfectly fine too. Mindfulness, I'll just kind of skip that. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point, because I do have my, here we go. All right, sorry for that transition. But I have a meditation that I would like to go through, because right now, if we can connect with our bodies and our minds, we're going to find that we do have the tools that we need to make it through this time. I do believe in the fact that we all have skills to manage and make it through whatever comes our way. And if we need to learn some more skills, we have the ability to do that. And I think that meditation is one of those, well, actually breathing. Breathing is one of those things that can allow us to make it through anything that we need to make it through. So I do want to spend the next, it's about 10 minutes, and through a guided meditation. We're going to first activate our soft bellies, and then we're going to find peace in a safe place. So if you feel comfortable, in a moment I'll ask you to close your eyes, but if you would rather keep them open, that's perfectly fine. And I just ask that you are sitting comfortably. Perhaps have your feet on the floor and your hands in your lap. Okay. Let's start by taking a moment to relax your body. Soften any unnecessary tension in your belly and in your shoulders. Find a posture that feels both relaxed and alert. Now, if it's comfortable, close your eyes and rest your hands in an easy, effortless way. Take a few moments to scan your awareness through the sensations of your body. Wherever possible, soften and release. Relax your breath. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. This may be a little unfamiliar, but when it's done in a natural, easygoing way, it can be very relaxing. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Now let your belly be soft. When the belly is soft, more oxygen goes to the bottom of the lungs. Oxygen moves more easily into the blood, and it goes into all the cells of the body. When the belly is soft, it helps activate the vagus nerve. Vagus means wandering. This nerve wanders up through the abdomen and chest to the central nervous system in the brain. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. This is an antidote to the fight, flight, or freeze stress response. Breathing deeply, activating the vagus nerve, helps relaxation come. As the belly is soft, as you breathe deeply, all of the muscles in the body begin to relax. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. Now, find yourself safe, wandering in the outdoors. Perhaps it's not a place you've ever been before, but you see the beauty of it in your own mind. Allow the images to come. In this place of safety, no one can come without your invitation. In this place of safety, you are always at peace. Allow the images to come. Notice the color of the sky. The temperature on your skin. Allow your sensations to be more and more alive. Look around and notice your surroundings. If not with your eyes, then sense with your heart. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Notice the colors of safety, the colors of the trees or flowers, grass or sand, or perhaps the water. Listen to the sounds of safety. Perhaps you hear the birds, the splashing of the water, or the sound of the wind. Allow yourself to create a safe place where there is peace and it is always with you. Breathe in the safety. Breathe in the safety and breathe out the fear. Breathe in the safety. Breathe out the fear. As you breathe in, you can smell the smells of safety. Perhaps the air is salty, or you smell the sweet smell of a flower. Perhaps it's so safe here, you can even taste it as you lick your lips. Breathe in the safety. Let yourself bask in the safety and the peace of this place. Allow yourself to wander. Notice more and more. Perhaps you see a shelter or a garden. continue to wander. Find your favorite place in all this safety. Breathe in the safety. Breathe out the fear. Breathe in the safety. Breathe out the pain. Breathe in the safety. Breathe out the anger. Breathe in the safety. And just be in this place. As we come to a close, take in the deepest breath you've taken all day. And let it out your mouth. Continue to breathe normally. And as you bring your attention back to the room where you are, flutter your eyes open as you feel comfortable, and notice how you feel. Has anything changed? You may feel a bit calmer, a bit safer. See if you can bring the same quality of awareness, of relaxation, of peace and safety with you throughout your day. As you take another deep breath in and let it out. I hope that was helpful and didn't necessarily fall asleep, but that found some relaxation. I don't mind staying and answering a few questions, but I do know that some people just like to stay in that place. So stay there as long as you need to, but feel free to reach out if you need anything.
All right, thank you, Kristi. We've got a few more minutes of class time, and so if you have anything to say or any questions or anything, we've got time. And then we'll keep the meeting running for a little while after we officially stop. Just remember that we're being recorded, so.
Kristi, I don't know if you can see, but you're getting some thank yous in the chat feature.
I just pulled them up. Yeah, thank you.
Does anybody have any burning questions for Kristi or for each other?
This is Peggy McClure again. Not so much a question as, probably enveloping all the comments. That was really wonderful to be able to do that. But to make a commercial announcement that if feeling safe to you is hearing hymns of the church, David Caudill and I will be back on the bells next week. And if you want to come to the parking lot at noon on Tuesday, David's going to be playing. from the safety of your car. And it's not a good time to be in the parking lot during during the food distribution, as we are a food bank distribution, but I'm going to be playing during that time. The computer will be turned back on so that you can hear the Westminster chime every hour, and the striking of the hour and the striking of the half hour.
Thank you, Peggy. Anybody else have a question before we close? I really like the idea of leaving in that safe, relaxed space. So I think I hope that's where y'all are. Daniel, I don't want to step on your toes, but you think we're okay closing out?
Yeah, I think so. Next week, it's probably going to be the same link. Dr. Scott Morris will return. He'll have 2 class sessions in a row. Next week will be the resurrection in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. All right, are we done? All right, thanks everybody. I'll end the meeting.
Bye.
Wow.